I have noticed something interesting as I've walked with so many wives through marriage difficulties, good times, bad times in their marriages. I've probably worked with really hundreds of wives over the years, and I've noticed something so very interesting. A lot of wives have had challenges in their marriages. Some have had really huge disappointments. Some have even had betrayal, or a husband with a serious pornography addiction or alcohol addiction or drug addiction or whatever, gaming addiction. And yet what I have noticed, what is so very fascinating, the marriages that survived and ended up being strong, and the marriages where the wife actually has some measure of joy and contentment, all have something in common that the wives did. These wives chose to focus on what was good with their husband. They didn't just focus on what was wrong. They also focused on what was good, and they asked God to help them see the good and maybe see what God was doing in their husband's life. And they had patience as God was working in their husband's life. They refused to take offense easily. They overlooked annoyances and frustrations, realizing that they were not married to Jesus, that their husband wasn't perfect. And yes, if their husband was in a pattern of sin against them, egregious sin against them, then they did something, but they even did that lovingly. They might establish boundaries and request changes lovingly but firmly. So it wasn't that they were just pie in the sky, only looking at what was good and not even noticing that he was abusive. No, not like that. But they chose to focus on what was good. They chose to have hope that God was working in their husband's life. This reminds me, of course, of Philippians 4:8, where God says to focus on what is good and right and excellent and admirable and praiseworthy. Think about those things. But I also found a really interesting verse that I think is instructive, and I want to share that with you. It's Proverbs 19:11. This is in the Amplified translation. Proverbs 19:11. Good sense and discretion make a man slow to anger, and it is his honor and glory to overlook a transgression or an offense without seeking revenge and harboring resentment. Woo! Overlooking the offense, overlooking the frustrations, overlooking the annoyances, refusing to get consumed with resentment that your husband isn't perfect. He's not speaking your love language perfectly. He's not romantic enough. He's not doing this enough. He's not doing that enough. Refusing to have that kind of mindset, really switching around your perspective to focus on what is good, what is right, what are his good qualities. That switch in perspective can mean everything. Those women who chose to switch their perspective, who chose to focus on what was good, refused to take offense, refused to let resentment start to consume them, those women had the happiest marriages, and they were the women that had the most joy and contentment. They were not married to a perfect husband, but they chose to focus on what was good and right. Maybe there's a lesson for us all to learn there.